कालीकुर्च समायुक्त माया कूटोपदेशतः प्रणवार्थ प्रबोधिन्यौ नमामि गुरुपादुके श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः क्रीं मात्रे नमः नमः सतसे. Good afternoon to one and all. Now we are going to enter into the next part of the Nityananda series, that is the Kailashi's comments on my videos. So I am going to read that. Last time we did from 20 to 27, of which actually I think 25 got missed out. The 25th comment, the 25th point in the comment got missed out. So let us read that first. Then we will proceed with 28. 25th is the Vaidya Sarovar. It seems it was constructed with the exact same Navapashana herbs used by Siddha Bohar in the sculpting of Lord Muruga. If it is so, then it would have succeeded in curing millions of ailments. All in Bidadi Ashram would be disease free. How come so many inmates are sick? If it was truly that Vaidya Sarovar cured all ailments, then how long wouldn't there be a long human queue in front of Bidadi till Bangalore? Unfortunately, it is all a hoax. Now, regarding this Navapashana, I want to make it very clear that the art of making Navapashana lingas or Navapashana idols, that is, there are 9 elements or 9 various things, chemicals involved here. Veeram, Puram, Tuttanagam, Mayil Tuttam. So there are 9 poisons. These are lethal poisons. If you take them, you are dead. So that is the nature of this poison. Okay. And these poisons are combined together using certain ancient Indian alchemical process, and by this alchemical process it is made into a form. The most famous known Navapashana form in Tamil Nadu is the Palani Murugar statue. There were 9 Palani Murugar statues, and this will dissolve. When you are doing the Abhishekam, it will dissolve, and by adding the most famous Abhishekam for Palani Murugar, one second. And the most famous Abhishekam for Palani Murugar is the Panchamritam. Panchamritam is a combination, a mixture of banana and then jaggery, grapes, all these things together. So when this Panchamritam is being introduced, is being poured on the idol, it has got some acidic quality in it. So it will collect a little bit of these Navapashanas, 9 poisons in the right quantity, and when this is being taken by the Bhaktas, all the diseases will be cured. This is the concept of Navapashanam. But unfortunately, we do not have the technique today available to solidify these Navapashanams together. We only have the technology of creating the Panchapashanam paste as far as my knowledge goes, because I have spoken about this Navapashanam and I have been a part of a Panchapashana idol process as well in my past. So 5 of these elements, they are bringing it together, they are making a metal frame, brass frame for the idol, and they are adhering that paste to the idol. They are making the idol using the Panchapashana. But Navapashana does not exist today. Any claims otherwise is wrong. And it seems in a personal satsang, Rajashekar Nityananda has also claimed that he has rediscovered this technology by downloading, and after downloading he has actually given this technology to Palani today, and the Palani Murugar is actually being completed, is actually being created once again using this Navapashana system. All this is unbelievable, because these kinds of things will immediately have media attention like anything if they are true. The very fact that they are not willing to give it for scientific tests, they are not willing to call scholars, in itself is the proof that it is not true. So the fact that, see, if I am inventing back the Navapashana process, what will I do? As an Indian, I know the value of the Navapashana process, because one of the most important, most valuable things in India is Navapashana. So it is going in crores and crores of rupees. That is the value. It is, billions of rupees is the value of Navapashana. Everybody is looking for that, for curing various diseases. So now the problem is, I am trying to if I'm rediscovering the process, will I not immediately call all the scholars? I will not call the Siddha Vaidyas. I will not call the Ayurvedic experts. I will not do any of these things. I will simply say it is with me and I will make money out of it. Is this what I will do? Will I not give it to the entire country? Will I not give it to the entire nation? That is the question that is supposed to be, that is to be posted in this question, in this scenario. Then that is the 25th point. Now 28th point, that 25th we missed in the last series. So 28th point, back in 2005 the chief priests of Annamalayar temple and his family used to visit Bidadi. They used to bring prasadam from Annamalayar and Unnamalayar temples, but ever since Nityananda started proclaiming he is Meenakshi, he is Paramashiva, they completely stopped dropping by. Instead they started cursing him. So if it is true that he is an avatar, why should they do that? The temple priests should have respected Nityananda. This is the point. Now it is very clear that not only from Unnamalayar temple and Annamalayar temple and Unnamalayamman temple, but from many temples the priest supports have been stopped for Nityananda. This is because of two reasons from what I have analyzed. The first reason is his claim to godhood, all these nonsense that he is doing. We are not able to accept that. The priests are not able to accept that. That is the first thing. Second thing is, wherever he is going, he is trying to dominate and he is trying to occupy all the properties. So when this happened in Madurai Adinam, when he gave the statement saying that he is going to take care of Meenakshi Amman temple, and that statement was actually a criminal statement because the Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple is currently under the support of HRDA. That is the Hindu endowment organization. That is the Aranilaya is what we call it in Tamil. It is a government organization. The temple is under that organization. If you are saying I am going to take care of it, essentially you are saying you are encroaching government property. You are encroaching public property. That is the meaning of the statement. So this is another danger that Nityananda is posing. That is, he is trying to occupy the temples. He is trying to make himself the main deity of the temples, and he is trying to make money out of the temples. Now I am very clear that HRDA should not be in charge of the temples in Tamil Nadu because they are stealing a lot from the temples. I am not saying no, but it should not be like jumping from the pot into the fire. Proper trusts have to be created, proper devasthanams have to be created, and the temple should be given in the hands of the devotees. Because the government is not controlling mosques, the government is not controlling churches, the government is only controlling temples, Hindu temples. So this should be stopped. But that does not mean people like Nityananda can come and take over. So that being said, let us go to the 29th point. Nityananda said he received enlightenment back in Omkareshwar. It seems the whole enlightenment energy download took more than 1 month. So he was stationed in a place. There was a lady who took care of him. So my question is, if Nityananda gave so much importance to a rock in Pavalakundru, which he said he attained 360 degrees vision, how come he never gave importance to the place where he attained enlightenment? Even if the person who took care of him and fed him for 1 month was never mentioned after that. So if we mention Buddha, we immediately remember Bodh Gaya, because that is where he got enlightened under a banyan tree. So why are we not speaking about the place, exact place in Omkareshwar where he received his enlightenment? Why is that place not a part of his ashram or anything like that? Not even visits are happening there. But the Pavalakundru is the place where he got 360 vision. So that is a part of the Leela Dhyan and other programs. The answer is very, very simple. Nityananda actually does not have any kind of influence, any kind of respect in any of the pilgrim centers in India. No self-respecting priest, no self-respecting sannyasi, no self-respecting traditional Hindu will respect Nityananda. That is the reality. So whatever smoke and mirror show he is creating for the others, for those who are gullible, for those who really do not know about Hinduism, those are the people whom he will be able to fool, and he will not be able to do anything outside his ashram, or there is a huge support for him through his community, through his relatives and others in Tiruvannamalai. So he is doing some nonsense there. And as discussed earlier, Tiruvannamalai is not only a great place of pilgrimage, it is not only a great place of enlightenment, it is also the breeding ground for many con men like Nityananda. So that show is going on there. Other than that, he will not be able to do anything anywhere else in India or anywhere else in Tamil Nadu. That is the reality. Now on this note, I remember there is one question from Tiaga Rosa, one of our viewers. He is asking, you are often using the term organic Hinduism. or organic exposure to Hinduism. What do you mean by that? By organic exposure to Hinduism, I mean exposure to Hinduism through traditional means. When you are traditional, learning the Shastras, learning the basics from first standard onwards, that is first standard in Hinduism. For example, we have started this Tattvabodha series, and another series on Bharati's, one of the Prakarana Granthas of Bharati, one of the important texts of Bharati, and also Tattvabodha is the very basic text, terminology, definition of terminology for Advaita. So learning like this, starting from the very basics, learning the language and then learning Advaita and then learning yoga, whatever through the traditional means, through proper practice, through a proper guru who is also coming from a lineage and from the traditional means, that is what is called as organic exposure to Hinduism. On one perspective, this is for the non-Indians. For Indians, organic exposure simply means the whole concept of Hinduism is a part of their daily life. Their parents are teaching them, their grandparents are telling them the stories of the great Puranas and Itihasas. That is what is called organic exposure. Okay, that being addressed, let us go to the 30th point. If you see closely, again you will see a pattern. Nityananda has mentioned so many names of enlightened masters in Tiruvannamalai. Nityananda said they trained him and recognized him as a special soul. If you see, he was very clever not to mention anybody who is alive. He is only mentioning those who have taken samadhi, so there won't be any disputes on the stories later on. But Nityananda is getting caught one by one. Now he is caught by the trustees of Sathya Sai Baba. Tomorrow more and more will come forward. So this is the problem. When you are making a claim, if I am making a claim that I am a student of Dr. Shankaran, a Theosophical Society scholar, Kanchi University scholar, you can go and ask him whether I learned from him or not. If I am saying I studied Vedas from Seturama Dikshidhar, you can go and ask him, if I am his disciple or not, he will say yes. So this is the authentic statement which you can make. Other than this, if you are making statements like, I was initiated by Babaji, or somebody else who has passed away, let us say for example, one Swamigal in Tirthuraipundi, he has passed away, so he gave me initiation. One Swamigal in Coimbatore passed away, he gave me initiation. Nobody will be able to go and ask and verify these things, but if they are having a following of disciples, then they will come forward and say this person is nowhere associated with our organization. So whatever Nityananda is claiming about Tondai Mandala Adinam, whatever Nityananda is claiming about all the various yogis he has met, if there are any following, any disciples of those who are there, please come forward and say the truth to the world. This is my request to all the traditional organizations that Nityananda is trying to claim, especially Ramakrishna Math. I am requesting the heads of Ramakrishna Math right now, the sannyasis of Ramakrishna Math right now, to come forward and reveal the truth about Nityananda, about his stay in Ramakrishna Math. There is a huge black story, a very dark episode there. I am not willing to speak about it because I am not willing to represent Ramakrishna Math in any manner. I have no authority to do that. But I will be requesting, I am requesting right now, anybody who is associated with Ramakrishna Math, please ask about this and please bring forth the truth. So that is the 30th point. On to the 31st point. His very own Jata, dreaded locks, is cheap and fake. He has purchased a lot of human hair extensions and later on glued or tied, I do not know the process, them to his hair. This crap, this idiot Nityananda can't even wait for his own hair to grow, just like how he couldn't wait to be a sannyasi. Just like how he couldn't wait to become enlightened. Now he could not even wait for his stinking hair to grow, that he had to use other human beings' hair extensions. Not only him, his entire gang of unqualified brahmacharis and sannyasis also did the same. Aren't they ashamed of it? To impress the Mahanirvani Akada, Nityananda wanted to have a long jata because the Simhastha Kumbh Mela was nearing back in 2016. So the problem here is, all this jata, all this hair and everything is only external. But the internal knowledge that you have, the practices that you are doing is what matters today. In today's modern world, everybody has to have a job because the dharmic ecosystem of India that supported the seekers of knowledge, the seekers of the ultimate knowledge, is unfortunately destroyed today due to the Western materialism. So because of this reason, we are unable to sustain our lives without doing a job, and you cannot go like that to your workplace. So I am having a small compromise here. In the front it is like this, in the back I am having my shika, as a brahmachari or a grahastha should do. So this kind of compromise is very much possible, and this kind of compromise is accepted today because we have to be in the modern world, yet we have to maintain our traditional values. Number one. Number two, all the external shows that Nityananda is doing, like, you know, wearing a fake jata, and then when he was in Madurai Adhinam, he tried to show himself as a bald head by covering his hair very tightly, by applying some oil, doing some nonsense, because those sannyasis have to be shaven headed, so he was trying to look like that. And also when he is taking Brahma Sutra, he will be like, you know, wearing one cloth on his head. All of these external things that Nityananda is displaying is only taking him away from being an enlightened master. It is only showing more and more that he is nothing but a fancy dress competition guy. He is nothing but a fellow with the need to impress other people. He is nothing but a con artist, and he is doing whatever is possible externally in order to show himself as something great, because there is nothing available internally to show his greatness. All that is there inside him is greed and the necessity to earn money, the necessity to impress more people, megalomania, and his God complex. That is what is there inside him. And those who are with him, please ask the question, why the hell should I wear a wig? Why can I not wait for my hair to grow? Why am I wearing a wig? I am wearing a wig because I want to impress others. And why do you want to impress others? To market more for Nityananda. That is the answer to the question. Whenever you are being asked to do something that is not naturally coming to you, that you think is ridiculous, like wearing this much of makeup after getting sannyasa, or wearing you know, a lot of jewels and other things after getting sannyasa, if you are doing all of these things, then please understand that you are fooling yourself. You are looking like a fool to others, and nobody who has got traditional knowledge of Hinduism will believe you. And those who are believing you without traditional knowledge of Hinduism, you are consciously fooling them, and you are consciously committing a sin in the name of Guru Seva to increase the financial assets of Nityananda. That is all there is to it. And now 32nd point. So with elaborate and massive expenditure done to showcase his ashrams at the Kumbh Mela, Nityananda with his fake jata and fake sannyasis were all set to portray a show there. To his disbelief, other akhadas and even Mahanirvani Akhada never respected him during the Kumbh Mela. If any one of you did that Kumbh Mela, do you guys remember that the entire group of thousands of us were not allowed to enter the Mahakal temple, despite Nityananda assuring us we will enter? Nobody knows what happened there, I know. This is what Kailashi is saying in the 32nd point of his comments under my video. So he is saying this, all I know this as well. In the Kumbh Mela that happened, he was there with all his sannyasis, and then he came running back because he was not respected, and also the court case was happening. Then he asked his own sannyasis not to wear his kantamala, to hide his kantamala, otherwise they will people will come and speak to them, they will expose him. And he said there are criminals, anti-Hindu elements in the Kumbh Mela. The other sannyasis are anti-Hindu elements according to Nityananda, simply because they did not respect him. Now Rajashekara, do you think you are Hinduism? You are actually not Hinduism. You are not Sanatana Dharma. You are a cancer for Sanatana Dharma. That is the reality. And please understand that sannyasis will not respect you because they are real and you are fake. As simple as that. And in the Kumbh Mela, as I told you before, not even one sannyasi came and did Danda Samarpana from any Akhada to Nityananda. From any Akhada to Nityananda. And he simply went there for showcasing himself as a Mandaleshwar of the Mahanirvani Akhada, and that as a Mandaleshwar of the Mahanirvani Akhada, and that did not work out for him at all. So that is the 32nd point. Now 33rd point, why do you think Nityananda gave a free program in Kumbh Mela? So that thousands of foreigners will come down and stay in his camp for 1 month. And he can showcase his foreign disciples to other camps in Kumbh Mela. Wake up. So during the Kumbh Mela, Nityananda conducted a camp, and in that camp he called so many foreign disciples to participate free of cost. This was just a marketing tactic. And I will tell you very openly, suddenly calling foreigners and giving them sannyasa, all these things are not acceptable to this tradition. And if you are doing this, it will only create the negative effect in the society, and that is exactly what happened in Kumbh Mela as well. So that is a huge failure for him, and he covered up that failure by saying those who are there in the Kumbh Mela are the criminals, not us. This is the most preposterous claim that he made about the Kumbh Mela. Years and years of Kumbh Mela has happened, thousands of Kumbh Mela has happened in this tradition, and that is one of the most respected festivals of India, and he is saying that the festival is wrong because they pointed out that he is a fake fellow. Then 34th point. So why do you think Nityananda packs so much of slots into an inner awakening that you not even have time to sleep, that you become sleep deprived and dizzy? When a human goes to that state of dizziness, his mind freezes, the power of reason is switched off. So this one we already discussed with Sarah in her interview as well. That is, sleep deprivation is one of the most important things that many ashrams will do, many cults will do. That is, they will not let you sleep, so that you will be always dull and you will not be able to be with a fresh mind, and whatever processes are happening inside you in the half sleeping state, this will seem like spiritual experiences to you. This one we have already addressed sufficiently as one of the cult tactics. Then when marketing masters like Nityananda rise to fame, they will be visited by unknown tantric yogis whom would like to offer some help. It will be in help in form of the powers. Big marketing gurus like Nityananda can't be baking the same pizza, that is techniques to enlightenment, repeatedly for years. He needs to learn up spaghetti, pasta, lasagna, salads. There are these, and tantric yogis come in their master plans. So I am asking you guys who had attended the inner awakening programs and enmasked yourself with powers, how many is it still working? If some it is still working, if for some it is still working, do you know it is not yours to own? There is always a master switch which can be switched on or off for the powers. And do you know who that master do you know that master switch is not Nityananda? If the tantric guy goes or disappears, nothing will work anymore. Well, I am not sure of this point. I am of the mindset that all the powers, so-called powers that Nityananda is claiming, one thing, they are not fully manifesting at all. Second thing, even if some powers are manifesting, that is not the external powers. All the external siddhis, I am willing to challenge those external siddhis right here, right now. Come and prove it in front of me under laboratory conditions. I will get you. I will propose for the $1 million challenge that James Randi Foundation is having. James Randi Foundation has announced a $1 million challenge for any provable claim of the supernatural under laboratory conditions. So go there. You come and prove it to me first. Then you go there, prove and get the $1 million. The entire world will turn back and look at you. Okay, so that being said, I do not agree with these siddhis at all. And even if the siddhis are manifesting like you said, these Shaktipadas can be given and can be taken away. Kailashi is correct on that note. But one thing I would like to add here is, if the siddhis are working for anybody, please understand that you are not evolving spiritually. You are actually degrading in the spiritual process by practicing these powers, by manifesting these powers, by manifesting these siddhis. And even the mindset that you must have powers is something that will remove you totally from your spiritual development. That is the reality of the siddhis. Please understand that. First of all, do not support them. Second thing, if something is happening to you, stop practicing it and turn inward, because you are here for the purpose of enlightenment. That is the reason why you guys joined Nityananda, not for doing some stage magic or some dark magic. That is not the purpose. So just come out of it. Okay, Nityananda said these are all Shaktis and not Siddhis. Are you sure about it? Now let us check our records. Can anyone bring me a record of past thousands of years, any enlightened masters, avatars, gods, rishis, munis? Even speaking of Shaktis, any detailed explanation of Shaktis given prior by anybody? And I always invoke Shankara as an example because he is an avatar pillar for Shaivism still standing today. Not only for me, but even learned scholars will cite him as an example. So clearly these Shaktis are nothing but a hoax by Nityananda. Yes, this is a very clear point. The term Siddhis actually have a negative attachment to them. That is, you are not supposed to practice them. But he is using these powers, so-called stage magic powers, so-called real powers, they are actually stage magic. He is using them in order to market his classes. And when he is using these things to market his classes, he is actually trying to get more people to pay money for him, for getting the same powers, for getting more people to pay more money for him. That is becoming a vicious cycle. Now when this is happening, you can easily say, anybody in India will say, Siddhis, you should not practice. You should not practice, that is the reality. Now he invented this term Shaktis in order to get out of this problem. And as Kailashi has pointed out, I have also challenged him to show the proof of Shaktis that he is manifesting. Okay, those are Siddhis, no doubt about it, and Siddhis should not be practiced. That is what Patanjali himself is saying. Now the point here is, when you called yourself an Adi Shaiva, do you remember that time Nityananda, Rajasekara, or any followers of Rajasekara who is listening here? Okay, please tell me, do you remember this time when he claimed that we are not Sanadanis, we are Adi Saivas? He made this claim, and we are not bound by the rules of the Sanatana Dharma for the Siddhis. This was his first statement. But later on he understood the danger of this statement, alienating himself from the Sanatana Dharma. So he simply said these are Shaktis which are a part of Sanatana Dharma. So I will tell you, you have to double check if Nityananda is telling today is Sunday. If Nityananda is saying today is Sunday, you have to double check the calendar. That is the pathological lying nature that he has got. That is a psychological disease. That is a condition. Please go to a psychiatrist and please ask him. He will tell you the technical name of the condition. That is, you cannot stop yourself from lying about something. So that is the problem with Nityananda. Whenever he is opening his mouth, he can only lie. He cannot speak the truth. And by lying continuously, his disciples have believed in so many lies that it is like an onion. We are not even able to show and pinpoint to one lie, because another lie will be the substratum for this lie. So we have to show what is there really in the traditional Shastras, so that you can understand what Nityananda is saying is wrong. So that is the 36th point and my response to it. Okay, then do you see yet another pattern? Nityananda will spin some story and give meaning to it. We believed him for years. So why does he spin stories? He could always cite a true example from Vedas and Shastras. He won't, because for him to speak about the truth, he needs to have studied those when he was young. He needs to have true grasping power and true grounding in the scriptures. Now you and me know he does not have those. So then speak about the truth, and later getting caught off it. With some devoting exponential scholars like Rhetoric Indian, not an exponential scholar, just a scholar. He would rather spin more stories which has no references. But idiot Nityananda forgot, Hinduism covers completely everything, from dust particles to universe formations. Nityananda will be cornered from any point. That is the truth. I am a scholar. I have the legitimate pride of being a scholar because of my gurus and adhyapakas. Not because of my own knowledge, but because of my gurus and adhyapakas, I can proudly say that I am a practicing Hindu and I am a scholar. Now, the point that Nityananda is wrong is because he has even stopped entirely quoting the Shastras right now. He is only speaking about what he has told previously, and he is now quoting his own words, and he is saying they are the pramana. They are the proof. So proof for his own words are his own words. He has come to that level right now because he has created so many stories about himself and so many wrong information, misinterpretation of the Shastras. Now he does not want to go back to them, because the moment he goes back to them, people like me can ask him questions. But fortunately or unfortunately, for either side, those videos are still available. I am taking them and I am debunking them, and my effort towards debunking Nityananda started because of his misuse of the Shastras, and it will continue so far as either he should be vanished from the earth, he can go and hide somewhere in some non-extradition country, or he must be legally punished. If either of these two things are not happening, my crusade against Nityananda will continue because of one simple reason, out of my sheer principle that he is abusing the Shastras, and now he has moved away from the Shastras, and nothing will remain if you move away from the Shastras. And all his disciples, in their arrogant lies and in their arrogant delusion, are also claiming to know the Shastras. I will call them out for debate. I am calling you out for debate. Any Nityananda's disciple out there who has the guts, who has the true guts and true belief in your guru, I am challenging you for a debate right now on any Shastra that Nityananda is using. I will point out the mistakes, you try to defend them. First you study and come. But the moment you study, you will understand the same mistakes that I am pointing out are true. That is the whole point of it. Honestly, go and study the Shastras with proper translation. Unfortunately, he has kept you ignorant of Sanskrit and Tamil. The proper Tamil and proper Sanskrit, he has kept you ignorant of those things. So just go and read the proper translations. If you want, you ask me, I will tell you. Whichever book you want, I will tell you the proper and traditional translation. You go and study it. Then you will understand the lies that he has spun out of it. He will just take the bare bones from a Shastra, from a Shloka, and he will add on so much flesh to it using his own nonsense, and finally the result will be, he will be the center of that Shloka. He will be the center of that Shloka. So that is the problem here. With that being said, we will end on the 37th point today. From 38th point onwards, we will see in our next video. So we are closing this session today. Tacham yora vranimahe gatum yajnaya gatum yajnapataye dhaivi swastirasthu naha swastir manushebhyaha urdhvam jigadu beshajam shanno astu dvipate e sanchatushpate. Aum shanti shanti shantihi. Namassadase.